Deep in the heart of the Amazon, a river of green flows as far as the eye can see. Towering above the rest are the majestic kapok trees, the giants of this domain. And high in the canopy of one such giant lives a man named Pedro. Pedro's home is not your typical dwelling. It is a treehouse, meticulously crafted from natural materials found within the rainforest. He built it himself, a testament to his ingenuity and deep connection with the environment. From this vantage point, he experiences the world from a perspective few humans ever will. The rainforest canopy is a world teeming with life, a vibrant tapestry of flora and fauna. Monkeys swing through the branches, their calls echoing through the trees. Exotic birds flit through the foliage, their plumage a riot of color. Pedro is a part of this world, living in harmony with the rhythm of the rainforest. Pedro's journey to the canopy began in a small village nestled on the edge of the rainforest. From a young age, he felt an undeniable pull towards the wilderness. While other children played games, he would wander off into the forest. He was captivated by its beauty, its mystery, its sheer vitality. He spent countless hours exploring the undergrowth, learning the secrets of the rainforest. He befriended the indigenous people who lived in harmony with nature. They taught him about the plants and animals, the rhythms of the seasons, and the importance of respecting the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Pedro learned to identify the medicinal properties of plants. He learned to track animals through the dense undergrowth. The rainforest became his classroom, his playground, his sanctuary. Building a home in the canopy of a kapok tree was no easy feat. It required ingenuity, determination, and a deep respect for the forest. Pedro knew he couldn't just impose his will on nature. He had to work with it, to find a way to build his home without harming the tree that would shelter him. He spent months observing the kapok tree, studying its structure, its strengths, and its weaknesses. Using only natural materials found within the rainforest, he began to build. He used fallen branches for the framework, weaving them together with vines and lianas. He used palm leaves to create a waterproof roof, and bamboo stalks to build the walls and floor. Every step of the process was a testament to his skill and his respect for the forest. Every morning, Pedro wakes to the symphony of the rainforest. The first rays of sunlight filter through the canopy, painting the leaves in hues of gold and green. Birdsong fills the air, a chorus of chirps, trills, and whistles. His first challenge is the descent from his lofty dwelling. The trunk of the kapok tree is massive, its bark rough and unforgiving. Pedro has secured a series of ropes and ladders to aid his climb, but it is still a demanding task. He moves with the agility of a monkey, his bare feet gripping the rough bark. He uses his hands to steady himself, his muscles working in perfect harmony with the movements of the tree. The climb down is a daily ritual, a reminder of the physical and mental strength required to live in this extraordinary environment. Once on the forest floor, Pedro's day is filled with activity. Life in the rainforest canopy is not for the faint of heart. The elements can be harsh and unforgiving. Torrential downpours can transform the forest floor into a raging torrent. Howling winds can test the strength of even the sturdiest trees. But Pedro has learned to adapt and thrive in this challenging environment. He has weatherproofed his treehouse as best he can, using layers of palm leaves and other natural materials to keep out the rain and wind. He has learned to read the signs of an approaching storm, seeking shelter in the lower branches when necessary. He shares his home with a variety of creatures, from insects and spiders to birds and small mammals. He has learned to coexist peacefully with them, respecting their space and their role in the ecosystem. Despite the challenges, Pedro's life is one of peace and tranquility. He lives in harmony with the rhythm of the rainforest, his days dictated by the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons, and the abundance of nature. He starts his days with the first light, climbing down from his treehouse to greet the dawn. He gathers fruit from the forest, collects fresh water from a nearby stream, and tends to his small garden. He grows vegetables, herbs, and medicinal plants, supplementing his diet with the bounty of the rainforest. He spends his afternoons exploring the surrounding forest, observing the wildlife, and gathering materials for his crafts. He is a skilled craftsman, using natural materials to create tools, baskets, and other useful items. As the sun begins to set, Pedro retreats to his canopy home. The rainforest provides everything Pedro needs to survive. His diet is rich in fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. He fishes in the rivers and streams, using traps and spears crafted from natural materials. He also hunts small game, using his knowledge of the forest and his skills with a bow and arrow to provide for himself. He has learned to identify a wide variety of edible plants, from the sweet fruits of the rainforest canopy to the starchy roots and tubers found on the forest floor. He knows which plants have medicinal properties, using them to treat minor ailments and injuries. He collects rainwater in large leaves, storing it in gourds and hollowed-out bamboo stalks. He uses the heat of the sun to dry fruits, vegetables, and meat, preserving them for later use. The indigenous people who live in the rainforest have a deep respect for Pedro and his way of life. They call him the Whisperer of the Trees, believing that he has a special connection to the forest and its spirits. They come to him for advice, for healing, and for stories of his life amongst the trees. Pedro welcomes them with open arms, sharing his knowledge of the rainforest and its secrets. He has learned much from the indigenous people, and he respects their ancient wisdom and traditions. He believes that it is important to preserve their culture and their way of life, which is so deeply intertwined with the rainforest. He has witnessed firsthand the negative impacts of deforestation and pollution on the rainforest and its inhabitants. He knows that the rainforest is under threat, and he is determined to do his part to protect it. He shares his concerns with the indigenous people, and together they work to raise awareness about the importance of rainforest conservation. Word of Pedro's extraordinary life in the rainforest canopy eventually reached the outside world. A group of scientists, intrigued by his story, embarked on an expedition to find him. They had heard tales of his treetop dwelling, his self-sufficient lifestyle, and his deep connection with nature. They traveled deep into the Amazon, following the course of winding rivers and hacking their way through dense undergrowth. They consulted with indigenous guides, who led them through the labyrinthine forest with an uncanny sense of direction. After weeks of travel, they finally reached the base of Pedro's towering kapok tree. They craned their necks to catch a glimpse of the treehouse nestled high in the canopy, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Pedro, accustomed to the solitude of the rainforest, was initially wary of the strangers who had entered his domain. The scientists, eager to learn from Pedro's unique perspective, spent weeks observing his daily routine and documenting his vast knowledge of the rainforest ecosystem. They were amazed by his ability to identify countless plant and animal species, his understanding of the rainforest's intricate web of life, and his deep respect for the natural world. Pedro shared his concerns about the threats facing the rainforest, from deforestation and climate change to pollution and the exploitation of natural resources. He explained how these factors were impacting the delicate balance of the ecosystem, threatening the survival of countless species and the livelihoods of indigenous communities. The scientists, deeply moved by Pedro's story and his message, left the rainforest with a renewed sense of purpose. They returned to their universities and research institutions determined to share Pedro's story and to advocate for the protection of the Amazon rainforest. They used their platforms to raise awareness about the importance of the Amazon rainforest, not just for the people and wildlife that call it home, but for the health of the entire planet. Pedro, the man who lived in a tree, became a symbol of the harmonious relationship that humans could have with nature. His story, carried by the scientists and shared across the globe, sparked a renewed appreciation for the fragility of the rainforest and the importance of its preservation. People from all walks of life were inspired by his simple yet profound way of life. They were drawn to his message of sustainability, his deep connection with nature, and his unwavering commitment to protecting the Amazon rainforest. His story served as a reminder that humans were not separate from nature, but an integral part of it. It highlighted the interconnectedness of all living things and the importance of respecting the delicate balance of the planet's ecosystems. And high above it all, in the canopy of his beloved kapok tree, Pedro continued to live his life in peace, a silent guardian of the rainforest.